on.
Now we're at our next stop. This is another parking lot here at the Lands. This is what you guys call the green parking lot.
That's what it is.
And it is green. So Chet's going to talk about the purpose of it, the construction of it, and the success, and then a few challenges that they're dealing with.
Sure. So the purpose of this lot is to be pervious. So rain goes and matriculates down through the soil, gets back into our water table, as opposed to ending up in the stream, again, causing flooding. So Hillside Farms is hills pointed at a stream. So we have to do our part to slow down the water. In this case, this application is around 96% equivalent to your backyard. And how it works is this. There's a grid embedded in this ground. It's just plastic. And there's points where it's beat up and things like that, but this plastic grid is thick enough, maybe 2 inches, to keep the weight of the cars from crushing the roots of the grass. Then underneath that, there's 8 or 9 inches of what's called, and you can look it up, the Penn State mix. Doesn't come from Penn State, but they thought of it, and there's a premium, but it's a kind of stone that's, even though it's dense and it holds its structure, it allows the water to flow through it.
It's kind of like a gravel mix.
It's a gravel mix, a little bit of sand, right? So it works really well for that. And just like in your yard, if it got super saturated, if we were getting 3 inches of rain at once, it's going to flow up, right? But the challenges we had with it, where you see brown, is the areas it's used the most.
Right.
So, you know, you wish it could be more... Yeah, so we had some challenges getting the grass growing to begin with. And then once the grass doesn't grow well in the beginning, it's a chase. You would literally have to not use the lot for a year. It's not realistic for us. Right. So we have other ideas because more than we're a dairy farm, we grow grass, and the cows eat the grass. We worry about grass, and the grass takes care of the cows. So we might put a little bit of manure here, not crazy, and some seed, and plant it with clover. Get some nitrogen going. And the other thing is when you're using agricultural equipment, there's some areas right in front of us. There's an area that's probably 5 feet by 10 feet that's decimated because it's just not built for those tires turning in tight quarters, but we're able to repair that. But overall, we're really pleased with it. And it's way better than Jake breaking trucks. The alternative to this is to have way more parking, right? And to put huge tanks underground. They store the water and slowly distribute the water out. It doesn't work nearly as well. It's not as natural. You have way less green space. You're taking up way less carbon than you do in the green scenario. So this is what we're doing. And we're not super busy certain times a year. So this is an overflow parking lot.
What did the construction costs look like compared to a traditional parking lot?
When you put all these things together for parking, so, and this includes the rain garden we talked about, the paving and all of this. We could have probably done it for, say, $350,000, and it was nearly double that, close to $700,000.
So substantial upfront cost.
It is.
But you're having a dramatic impact on not just stormwater runoff, the quantity of water that's flowing into the stream, but also the quality. When the water flows across the parking lot and doesn't seep into the ground, it's picking up leaky oil and transmission fluid, and now those pollutants are seeping into the soil and they're being cleansed to a certain degree by natural processes.
And do you want to live in a paved road or a planted road?
Right. It also has a temperature impact.
Huge. It's a huge cooling, but yeah. Obviously, on a sunny day, you're going to burn your feet on the pavement, and this is just like your yard. We love it.
It impacts the air temperature around the buildings.
It really does.
Well.
It really does.
Which, speaking of, while we're here, rather than move on, if we want to just kind of spin around, we can look at your office building.
Okay.
And it is topped by a metal roof that is new. So do you want to talk about what you've been doing in regards to that?
This is another your crazy money things because you're spending a lot up front. So these roofs, imagine using, again, fossil fuels to make an asphalt roof. I have an asphalt roof on my house. That's what I could afford, right? I would love to have a metal roof. But and think of how many years that lasts. And then over 100 or 150 years, how many times it gets changed. The labor, the energy, even the damage to the house because it's not sealed completely. When you go to this style roof, yes, it costs more. It's a standing seam roof. But this roof's going to be here for generations. I'll be dead 100 years and those roofs will still be on there. And really, the warranty is at least it's 100 years, but they far outlast that. And so, and then the reflectivity, the whole energy aspect of it, it's fantastic.
You know, compared to an asphalt shingle roof, as Chet just said, the shingles are made from oil, asphalt, and we have issues associated with that, obviously. And a typical asphalt roof, if you're lucky, will last 20 years, 25 years if you spend a lot of money up front. Where these metal roofs are going to last easily 4 times that amount of time. And over the last, how many years have you been replacing roofs? Almost 10 years.
At least 10 years, yeah.
So there's still a few structures left to go because it is such a huge investment.
It is.
But one of the benefits, I think, to the land, being a nonprofit, take a few minutes to talk about that, is that they're eligible for a variety of funding sources. So, you know, they can apply for state grants. They can apply to private foundations for foundational grants. So as compared to a private property owner, a private farmer, they don't have access to those resources readily, although it's quite competitive to get these grants. It's not an easy thing.
No.
But it has greatly benefited, I think, the land
That's
by
very
bringing
true.
in grant dollars.
With all of this. So anything that we did is an example and not a criticism.
Right.
Because we're very fortunate.
Right.
But I mean, if I was younger and I was buying a new house and your students, they were going to buy their first house, and if you can, it doesn't have to be this commercial grade. Put a metal roof on because you're just going to save money.
Right.
If you just do the math on the money, you're going to save it over time if that's where you're going to be staying.
And the more entities, organizations, big businesses that can afford to do these types of projects over time, that will bring the cost of those materials down. So, you know, maybe in 10 years it will become more affordable to the general population. So not only is the land showing what can be done, but in part they're helping to bring the long-term costs of those materials down.
All these, and you could do this green parking lot in your front yard. You really can. On a small scale, somebody could do this with a shovel.
Right.
So there's really, because I'm planning on trying it. We'll see what happens.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Just a little section.
All right.